So to continue po the discussion is we have the minimizing selection bias. So there are three ways po on how we minimize the selection bias. We have the random sampling, blinding, and matching. So we have other methods which include using the same criteria for selecting cases and controls, obtaining high participation rates, using a variety of methods to successfully trace study subjects, and taking diagnostic and referral practices into account when designing a study. So we have random sampling, blinding, and matching. So first, let's start with random sampling. So kapag ka random sampling naman po, first, it involves selecting study participants from the target population using random methods. So, from the word random sampling po, yung sample na kukunin natin from the target population is through randomly. So, pipili po tayo in random ways, ensuring that each individual has an equal chance of being included. So, for example po, in a study assessing the prevalence of diabetes sa community. So, ang ginagawa po natin dito, researchers randomly select households from a list of all households in the community to participate in the study. So, from the target population, kukuha lang po tayo dun ng samples ng ating study participants randomly. So, for example, sa 5 household, we pick 1. Pipili po tayo ng isa doon. Parang ganun po. And then next, we have blinding. So, it involves concealing. So, from the word blinding po, mayroong concealing certain information from study participants, researchers, or data analysts to minimize the bias. So, paano po ito ginagawa? So, in a clinical trial, for example, evaluating the efficacy of a new medication, participants are blinded to whether they are receiving the experimental drug or placebo to prevent their knowledge from influencing their responses. So, yung mga study participants mo natin, for example, hindi po nila alam kung ano yung nakaturok sa kanila. Parang, they are not knowledgeable kung ano yung nakaturok sa kanila para po hindi ma-influence yung response nila. Kasi, for example, they have knowledge na alam nila na yung nakalagay sa kanila is experimental drug. So, it means na parang may influence po yun or na, okay, sa akin yung drug. So, ibig sabihin, dapat may effect sa akin. Ganyan. So, parang, ang nangyayari po is, nagkakaroon po ng influencer response ng ating study participants. The same way din po sa placebo. So, sa akin, placebo lang naman. So, nasa isip ko lang, ganyan. So, there is, may difference po between yung dalawa. So, it's very important para ma-minimize po yung bias is, kailangan yung mga participants po natin is, hindi nila alam kung ano yung i-receive na. So, from the word na blinding, they are blinded to whether kung ano yung i-receive nila. Okay, next naman po is matching. Matching naman, it involves selecting study participants with similar characteristics or confounding factors to ensure comparability between groups. So, from the word matching po, dapat nagmamatch yung mga characters. So, they have similar characters or confounding factors. So, example po is the association between the obesity and heart disease. So, cases and controls dapat are matched. So, for example, sa example natin ngayon, in a case control study investigating the association between obesity and heart disease, cases and controls are matched based on their age, gender, or smoking status to control for these potential confounders. So, parang naka-classify po sila according sa age, gender, tsaka smoking status. So, nagmamatch po dapat kung ano yung mga characteristic ng ating participants. So, there are other methods also which include the same criteria for selecting cases and controls, obtaining high participation rates, using a variety of methods to successfully trace study subjects, taking diagnostic and referral practices into account when designing a study po. Okay, so now let's move on naman po sa information bias. So when we say information bias po, it occurs when there are errors or inaccuracies in the measurement of exposure, outcome or covariates leading to biased study results. So, understanding the key features and examples of information bias is crucial for conducting reliable and valid research in public health. So, we have two types po or two classifications of information bias. We have the differential and non-differential misclassification. So, misclassification, it occurs when individuals is the misclassification from the word non-differential, uniform po sila or may similarities po in between groups or across groups. So typically, it results in underestimated or biased estimates of association towards the null. So it may occur due to error in data collection, measurement tools, diagnostic criteria that affect all groups equally. So, in a study assessing self-reported smoking status and lung cancer incidence, if both smokers and non-smokers equally misreport their smoking status, it leads to non-differential misclassification. Yun nga po, equal. So, may similarities sila. So, equally misreport, it means there is a non-differential misclassification. Ayan, para po ma-visualize nyo yung difference or yung information bias, meron po kasi yung mga nami-misclassify. So, for example, ito, supposed to be, dito po yung disease and expose. Pero meron pong isa na napadpad, which is not disease and not expose po dapat ito. Ito din po, exposed but not disease, pero na-misclassify siya sa disease and expose. So, how about itong not disease and expose? So, ito po, may mga na-misclassify, katulad po nitong not disease and not expose, pero ba't nandito po siya sa may part ng expose? Tapos, ito din po, itong disease but not expose, pero nandito siya sa not disease. Tapos, ito din po, expose and disease. However, bakit nandito po siya sa not disease? Dapat disease po yan. So, the same way po dito sa not expose and disease. However, may mga na-misclassify po katulad nitong expose and disease, expose but not disease, tapos not disease and not expose. So, dapat nandito po siya. Pati din naman po dito sa not disease and not exposed, may mga na-misclassify po na exposed and disease. Tapos, exposed but not disease. And also, ito pong exposed and disease. So, ganun po yung understanding po natin ng misclassification. Okay, so we have different types of information bias. We have recall bias, interviewer bias, bias in abstracting records, bias from surrogate interviews, surveillance bias, and reporting bias. So, first po is the recall bias. Ang recall bias occurs when study participants inaccurately remember or report past exposures or experiences, leading to biased estimates of the association. So, from the word nga po na recall, ibig sabihin yung participants po natin is hindi niya po masyadong naalala yung past exposure or experiences niya. So, merong inaccuracy in remembering or reporting yung mga past exposures nila. So, from dun po, meron ng bias estimate. So, for example, sa case control study examining the association between alcohol consumption and liver disease. So, yung mga individuals po natin na may liver disease, there is a high chance that they may recall their alcohol intake more accurately kaysa po sa mga healthy controls, resulting in an overestimation of association. Kasi nga po, yung palainom or yung mga taong may liver disease, mas natatandaan nila yung alcohol intake kasi nga po, regularly sila nag-i-intake ng alcohol. For example, kahapon lang, mga 7:30 p.m., ganyan. However, yung may healthy control, since they are living a healthy life, hindi po nila alam, they are drinking mostly occasionally lang po. So, therefore, hindi siya accurate. So, pwede nilang sabihin, last week. So, hindi naman po natin alam kung anong day, anong time. So, mas accurate na naalala ng taong may liver disease yung alcohol intake. So, there is probability na may overestimation po tayo ng association. Next is the interviewer bias. So, arises naman po when interviewers consciously or unconsciously influence participants' responses, leading to biased data collection. So, ano po yung example nito? For example, yung survey assessing healthcare utilization. However, yung interviewers natin with preconceived notions about certain healthcare practices may subtly influence participants' responses, leading to biased result. Kasi nga po, yung interviewer natin, meron na siyang prior knowledge regarding healthcare practices. So, along the interview, pwede po siyang mag-impart ng knowledge or magkaroon siya ng mga follow-up questions po doon sa participants natin. Ngayon, yung influence tuloy po ng participants, may influence niya yung responses ng ating participants kasi nga po, meron na siyang idea about doon. So, pwedeng it's either positive bias or negative yung bias niya. Ayan. And then next naman po is bias in abstracting records. So, it refers to errors or inaccuracies introduced during the process of extracting data from records or documents, katulad po ng medical charts, or administrative databases. So, for example po nito, from the word bias po sa abstracting record, meron, during the time po na nag-extract tayo ng records or documents, merong mga errors due to inconsistencies sa recording information. So, mostly po sa mga hospitals is either hindi na-endorse ng next duty. So, merong mga disparity po between documents and recordings po ng mga documents or mga reports ng patient natin. So, for example, pwede ding incomplete documentation or misinterpretation ng ating records. So, example po, in a study assessing the prevalence of adverse drug reactions using medical records, if certain adverse events are not consistently documented or recorded, pwede po itong mag-lead ng underestimation or overestimation ng true prevalence. So, for example, dun po sa 8 hours duty ng isang healthcare provider, na-document niya po lahat. However, dun sa next na duty na, may kulang-kulang or bungi-bungi po yung pagkaka-record niya ng mga medical reactions ng patient. So, hindi properly recorded. So, meron pong bias na mangyayari doon. The next is bias naman po from surrogate interviews. So when we say surrogate interviews, yung mga proxy po or substitute lang po natin. So it occurs when information about the study participant is obtained from a proxy. For example, family member, caregiver, rather than directly from the participants. So, syempre, surrogate interviews po, it may introduce bias due to differences in knowledge, perspective, or recall accuracy. Kasi nga po, hindi naman po yung mismong tao yung in-interview natin. It's not the direct participant. Therefore, kung ano lang po yung na-observe or nakikita or yung knowledge nung proxy, yun lang din po yung isasagot niya sa interview. Therefore, there is differences po between the surrogate and the actual participant. So, ano po yung example nito? So, in a study investigating dietary habits and health outcomes among elderly individuals, kung ang information natin about dietary intake is obtained from family members instead of the participants themselves, it may lead to inaccuracies in reported dietary data. So, yun po, yung mga surrogate interviews natin or yung mga proxy, there is bias po dyan kasi nga magkaiba po sila ng knowledge, perspective, and recall sa actual participant. Okay, next, we have the surveillance bias naman po. So, when we say surveillance bias, it occurs when the intensity of frequency of surveillance or monitoring differs between groups being compared in a study, leading to differential detection or diagnosis of outcomes. So, differences in surveillance practices, access to healthcare or healthcare-seeking behavior may contribute to surveillance bias. So, ito po kasi magkakaiba yung intensity or frequency ng monitoring natin in between groups. So, yung surveillance and monitoring, iba-iba po kasi yung ways. So, for example, sa study ng pagko-compare natin ng cancer incidence rates between urban and rural population. So, ang individuals natin in urban areas, they have better access po kasi to healthcare and they may undergo more frequent cancer screenings. Therefore, it may lead to higher reported cancer rates po sa urban areas kaysa sa surveillance bias kasi nga po mas marami or mas accessible sa kanila ang mga healthcare regarding sa pagtitreat ng cancer. So, yun doon pa lang po sa surveillance natin, merong bias na doon in the way we do our surveys. Next is reporting bias. So, ito naman po, it occurs when there is selective reporting or publication ng study results based on the direction or strength of the findings, leading to an incomplete or biased representation of the evidence. So, ano po yung reporting bias? Ang reporting bias po kasi it may result from publication bias, whereas yung studies natin which are statistically significant or yung mga positive result, they are more likely to be published or reported. Samantalang po, yung mga studies natin with non-significant or negative results, they are less likely to be published. So, hindi po siya significant. Therefore, ang mangyayari po dyan, according sa statistics natin or sa study, mas marami yung napapublish na positive result kesa sa mga negative results. So, meron at merong selective reporting po na nangyayari. For example, in a systematic review examining the effectiveness of a specific intervention, so if studies reporting positive outcomes are more likely to be published than those reporting negative outcomes, it may lead to an overestimation of the intervention's effectiveness due to the reporting bias. So, ang tawag po dito is reporting bias. Okay, so how do we minimize information bias? So we have three ways po also. We have the objective measures, standardized data collection protocols, and validation studies. So others include masking interviews and subjects to the study hypothesis. So ito po, pwede siya sa interviewer and recall bias. Pwede naman tayong gumamit ng control group that is composed of deceased individuals. So recall bias po ito para less na yung recall ng diseased and healthy individuals. Tapos we can also have carefully designing the study questionnaire questionnaire. So, pwede po tong interviewer and recall bias. Pasok po siya sa classification ng interviewer bias. Lalo na yung study questionnaire kasi po nga standardized na siya. And then, relying on no interview data. So, it can also be, pwede po siya sa interviewer and recall bias. And then, using multiple measurements, the most accurate information source, and sensitive and specific criteria to define the exposure and disease or misclassification. So, i-discuss ko na po yung tatlo. Okay, we have the objective measures. So, using objective measures or biomarkers to assess exposure or outcome can minimize information bias associated with self-reporting. So, when we say objective po, using numbers or certain machines or biomarkers para ma-less po yung information bias. Kasi nga, information po is very important or essential po. So, dapat less ang bias dito sa information. So, we use objective measures. For example, instead of relying solely sa self-reporting dietary intake, we can study on nutrition and obesity. May also measure participants' body composition using dual energy X-ray absorptiometry or DEXA scan. So, which is more objective and measurable po kasi siya. Therefore, mas accurate. So, we use objective way of measuring. Next, standardized data collection protocols. Ito naman po, we implement standardized protocols for data collection, ensures consistency and reduces variability in measurement kasi nga po standardized na siya. Therefore, may sinusunod na tayong parang standard na protocol, ganyan. Therefore, there is consistency and also it reduces the variability. So, for example po, in a survey on physical activity levels, all interviewers are trained to use the same questionnaire and follow a standard procedure for administering the survey to the participants. Therefore, yun nga po, may standard na sinusunod. So, ibig sabihin, same na sila ng questionnaire na ginagamit, tapos may standard procedure para mag-survey sa participants. With that, makukuha po natin yung pinaka-objective na or minimize natin yung information bias. Next, and lastly, is the validation studies. So, validation studies po, it conduct validation studies to compare the self-reported data with gold standard measures. So, vina-validate po natin yung data using gold standard measures. So, it can assess the accuracy of self-reporting and identify potential bias. Kasi nga po, gumagamit tayo ng gold standards. For example, pag mag-study tayo ni assess natin yung accuracy ng self-reported smoking status, participants' self-reports are compared with biochemical test katulad ng cotinine levels to validate smoking status. So, for example, i-compare po natin yung smoking status ng patient by self-reported smoking status at saka yung biochem test in which this is the gold standard. So, kina-check natin yung cotinine levels tapos yung smoking status ng ating patient. With that, mami-minimize po natin yung information bias. So, that's all po. Thank you. So, yung confounding po will be discussed by our other members. So, thank you po for listening.